Hey everybody, this is Symon's story. I'm Bobby from Justice Shepherds, and if you follow me on Facebook, there's a really good chance you know who Symon is. But I'm going to do the first 2 weeks of his life, because this was the scariest part to date. Symon's story began January 28th, 2022 at about 3 o'clock in the morning. For God's sake knows why my dogs cannot give birth at a decent hour. And they like to drag it out for days. So we'd already been together in the kennel for about 9 days. Hanging out with Solo, making sure she's okay. She has what she wants. I sleep with them at night because I need to be there. And I have some moms that just don't show all the signs. So I just move in with them. But her first pup was born. Great pup, beautiful, healthy. Second one, beautiful, healthy pup. They're nursing. Here comes number 3, this little tiny thing. Little tiny guy. He rolls over my hands. I trim his umbilical cords. I suck his lungs, his mouth, his nose out. Pull the bag off. I dry him up. And I put him on a nipple and pass him off to mom. Little guy. I love those puppies. Why? Because those are the little pistols. Those are the ones with the highest drive. And drive just drips off them. I love those babies. And out of this litter, I had 2. This little one and a little female. So I was very tickled with what I had. We went through the day after these were all delivered, and very uneventful. Mom's beautiful mom, takes great care of them. They're all nursing. They're quiet. Nobody's screaming. Nothing's out of the ordinary. Everything's the same. That first night, I sleep in there with her to make sure she's okay. Mom, because if things are going to go wrong, it's going to be that first night. That's the night she's so exhausted that she just falls asleep really heavy. And puppies can get up underneath them, and they can get suffocated. So I stay with them. So we spent the entire night together. Again, uneventful. Puppies looked great. Nothing out of the ordinary. I did see my little dark one kind of squirt out from between a couple puppies during nursing. Didn't surprise me. He's little, just not as strong as the big bruisers that were in there. So I pushed his way back in and latched him on a nipple and walked off. Crawl back in bed, continue watching, listening. So the next day comes. I'm able to walk in and finally take a shower and become human again, have something to eat and relax a little. I come in and out of the house checking them, nothing out of the ordinary. The next night, I get to sleep in my own bed. It's like the highlight. I got a good night's sleep. Thank God I got a good night's sleep. Because I got up about 5 a.m., threw my coat on, went out to the birthing kennel, walked through the door, walked to the edge of the whelping area and leaned down and looked at her. There she was. Solo. You could almost see a smile on her face. Her tail, whop, whop, whop. She was one happy mama, and I love seeing that. She's taking good care of her pups. So I walk around to the gate, I get in there, and I walk around to the whelping area. And off to the left is a little bowl of water. So really nothing, there's always something right there. Mom's nursing her pups, they look healthy, happy. I start counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where's number 8? So I look down under that water dish. There was a puppy, laying on its right side with its feet up against the wall. Stiff. No movement. Nothing. My heart sank. I'm looking at Mom thinking, you know this, don't you? You know he's right there. I picked the pup up. I patted her on the head real quick, put the pup in my pocket. I don't want Mom to see me leave the kennel with one of her puppies, so she doesn't panic or jump up or injure one of the other babies. I make it to the gate, make it to the door. Granted, it's January, it's cold out. So I stop at the door. I pull the pup out of my pocket. It's a little male, a little beautiful black bi, and it's my little guy. It's my little one. And all of a sudden I start questioning, why didn't you catch this? Why didn't you catch this? But obviously something's wrong. Something's wrong with this pup. So I put him back in my pocket. Now I got to find a shovel. I have to bury this little guy. So I find the shovel in the greenhouse. I walk over to where I'm going to lay this little man to rest. I stomp my foot in the ground. And I'm still holding this pup in my other hand. And I pop out the big clunk of dirt. And before I can go on, I hold him out and look at him. And your name is Symon. If I lose a pup, they're always named. Now, I've lost very few puppies in my 20 years of doing this. You'll have stillborns, but normally after they're born, they're pretty good. You're going to be okay. Why did this one die? I just leaned down with my face and I blew warm air on him, double checking, because blowing warm air on him like Mom does stimulates them. I blew on him about 4 or 5 times warm air, but I knew this puppy was either too far gone. He was cold to the touch. I put his little face up against my cheek, and his skull was ice cold. I just looked at him for a minute. Just then, I felt this thing on my arm. He wrapped his tail around my wrist. And I just stood there and looked at it. Just then, his chest rose, and he opened his mouth, going after what I'm certain to be probably his last breath. All you could hear was, "Gah!" Before I knew it, I'd already bypassed the kennels. I'm running for the house. I jump up on the deck. I go in the house. I lay him on the counter, and I realize everything I need to save this puppy's life, except for water, is in the kennel. I wrap him in a blanket, and I run as fast as I can. Meanwhile, my dogs, the 2 males that were in the house, are going nuts because I'm running in the house. So I make it out the door. I make it to the kennel. I open the refrigerator, and I pull out what I need. And I'm going through my head, what do I need? I realized all I needed from here was IV bag, syringe, and the right needles. And I ran for the house. Got to the house. I immediately started warming water. I pulled a coffee cup down and realized he's still stiff. He won't fit in it. So I pull one of the big soup mugs down. And I hold him by his neck. So his little head is in the palm of my hand. And my fingers are wrapped around his neck. And I'm slowly dipping him in and out. I don't want to shock him. Well, probably wouldn't have done much because he was pretty much almost dead then. I just kept dipping him in. And then all of a sudden you hear, a squeak. That's something good to hear. Dipping him in. My next thought is, I've got to get fluids in him. His skin is sticking to itself. He's dehydrated. This little one probably never nursed. I missed it. So I start the warm water again. I fill the syringe full of IV fluid. I go over and put the syringe under the water and I'm warming it. You got to put something warm in him. I've got to continue this warmth pattern because I can't get him to eat anything. He won't suckle. He will not swallow if he is too cold. So I injected him with warm fluids, and you can watch his body start to rise with the fluids. Pull the needle out, set it aside, and I continue warming his body till the point his little legs started folding up. He was getting warm. This took a while. This is all I could do is sub-Q fluids, warmth. It's one of those waiting games, and I'm not very good at being patient. So finally got him to a temp where he was starting to squeak a little more. He was moving slightly. His little tail was moving. Now, what am I going to feed him? I've got to give him milk. And this is one of those times I sit there and why didn't I buy one of those? I've always wanted to get one of the goat nursing machines because I could have went out there and nursed her and had her fresh milk with colostrum in it. But I had no way of doing it. So I started him on evaporated milk. That is the closest to mother's milk as you can get. The stuff that comes in cans and powder form at the stores, it's garbage. It's garbage. This has the thickness of milk, the texture of milk, and holds the fat content of mom's milk. As I fill the bottle, one of the little puppy nursing bottles, put it in his mouth, there's nothing. He doesn't suckle. But you can see when I squirted it in his mouth, he could swallow. He swallowed it. Like, okay, we'll just keep dripping. We'll drip until he gets this. Well, we did a lot of dripping. Had to feed him about every 15 minutes, just keep dripping it into his mouth. Finally, it was probably first week and a half. This is what we did. It was up every 2 hours making sure this pup is eating. And he has to be stimulated to go poop and pee. So there I am, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, standing, stimulating this pup, feeding him, stimulating him. You know, and when you're tired, it becomes a mess. I probably washed my hands more that first 4 weeks of Symon's life than I have in my entire lifetime. So it was a mess, but we kept going. Trust me, there was many a nights I woke up just, oh my God, it'd be easier to let you go. Sad to say I even thought that, but it's true because I did not know where his mental status or anything was going to be. Because I still held this puppy. He may have been warm, but he couldn't nurse. As time went on and we were approaching the 2-week mark, he's starting to become a little more vibrant. Symon actually lived in a box. When I didn't have him in my possession, he laid in a little cardboard box on a hot water bottle with little hand towels. And it kept the humidity right in the box and his heat all around him. And this is how he was. Later he graduated. We'll cover that in the next story. But he started to respond. And by about the 10th, 12th day, you could see him wanting to suckle on the nipple, but he couldn't. So I decided I'm going to try something different. I ran to the store real quick, took Symon with me, stuck him in my shirt. He got to meet the wonderful ladies at Dollar General in Monroe, Oregon, who he loves still. Found him a baby bottle with the large nipple. Still don't know why he can't nurse. But he started to bite down on it. He couldn't really suck, but he's starting to bite down, and he was starting to get some. So I was able to squeeze the bottle, and he would get milk. So life became easier. But his first 2 weeks was a balancing act of keeping him warm. Not too warm, not too cool. And the reason I was very careful with Symon is the fact, I don't know if any of you remember, years ago, I actually had a dwarf puppy. Physically dwarf. Every aspect of him. I was able to keep him alive for 7 days. There was so much going on with him. And I had to get to the point where the question, is he going to have a quality of life? He's a dwarf. And in the human world, they have to endure a lot of pain and surgeries because the bone structure becomes very painful. And he had the same. And having a puppy, they can't tell you, hey, my leg's hurting, until they start limping. Day 6 rolled around and he started having bigger issues that I couldn't control. I had to make a decision. Bowden was his name, was on his way out. And I just sat and held him, and I had to let him go. Day 7, I lost him. He slept on my chest the entire 7 days until he took his last breath. He was on my chest. Now, because of the experience I experienced with Bowden, I questioned myself a lot. Did I keep him too warm, not warm enough? Did I give him enough food? Did I give him enough subcutaneous fluids? I always do this, no matter what it is. I always question myself. So because of Bowden, I made changes. I made the change to immediately warm the pup, immediately give it sub-Q fluids. You don't need to worry about their food right now. You got to get fluids in them. So because of Bowden, I was able to save Symon. Symon's name is Symon Bowden Vanden Justice. He will carry his brother's name because his brother was there to help him survive by giving me the knowledge. The first 2 weeks of Symon's life was a roller coaster. He was just a little guy, but he had and still has the drive to survive and succeed. So over the next few weeks, we'll go over another stretch of his life about what he's doing then and what he's doing now. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Stay tuned. There'll be more of Symon's story.